The Ontario government ordered all companies in the province to stop discharging mercury into the environment in 1970. However, Dryden Chemicals continued dumping for 6 more years without penalty. Wastewater containing inorganic mercury was released into the river system. In nature, inorganic mercury was converted by microbes into a more toxic compound, methylmercury, a form of organic mercury. Methylmercury enters the base of the food web by absorption into phytoplankton or algae and into zooplankton. Methylmercury is mainly transferred through the food web by dietary exposure or bioaccumulation. Plankton is eaten by aquatic insects and crustaceans. Aquatic insects and crustaceans are eaten by small fish. Larger fish consume these small fish, and the concentration of mercury becomes greater depending upon the size of the fish, its age, and the level it occupies in the food web. This is called biomagnification. Fish that eat other large fish, like northern pike and walleye, will have greater concentrations of mercury. By 1970, fish from the English Wabigoon River system indicated levels of mercury more than 40 times the safety guideline. When humans eat contaminated fish, mercury is absorbed into the bloodstream. In particular, methylmercury damages the central nervous system and the brain. It can also be transferred from a pregnant woman to the developing fetus.
I was pregnant with my youngest, the
When
one,
was that?
pardon?
When was that?
Back in 69 up till they banned commercial fishing. That's when my dad was commercial fishing on the English River system. And I think I ate the sturgeon without realizing, without thinking, without being educated that I had passed on the mercury to my boy.
In 1970, the Ontario government banned commercial fishing. However, sports fishing continued under catch and release regulations.
In the 70s and 80s, I was guiding. I started when I was 14.
Every day you eat fish.
When you guide, you eat fish every day.
And
I must eat about at least four fillets every meal, like every day. And
4 fillet in total for a day.
for the lunch, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Then when you went back, sometimes when I come home, I brought some fish home for my family too.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Strong was a guide and trapper who was known to be a frequent fish eater in Grassy Narrows. He died in 1972 at the age of 42. After conducting an autopsy, the Ontario government concluded Tom Strong died from acute coronary thrombosis resulting in a heart attack. They denied mercury contributed to his death. Diagnosis Mercury, a book published in 2009 by a medical doctor, Jane Hightower, quoted studies in Circulation, an American Heart Association journal, and the New England Journal of Medicine. Several control studies conducted on patients in various European countries indicate high mercury content in fish could increase the risk of cardiovascular disease, leading to a heart attack. Health and Welfare Canada started a mercury monitoring program in 1971. Their data described total mercury levels based on blood and hair samples for band members of Grassy Narrows and White Dog. The data identifies the number of people tested who were at risk of poisoning. During the first year of the program, 13 of 70 people tested in Grassy Narrows were at risk of poisoning. 28 of 120 people tested in White Dog were at risk of poisoning. Health Canada data is somewhat confusing because a different number of people were tested each year. Were some of the same people tested each year? Of the people who were tested, how long did they live on the reserve? What were their fish consumption habits? The data does not answer these questions. What we can understand from the data is that total mercury levels decrease with each decade. In the 1970s, 1,876 tests were conducted on residents in grassy narrows. 145 were defined as at risk. By the 1990s, there were no more at-risk test results. The results in White Dog from 1971 to 1979 were similar. Of 1,996 test results, 67 were at risk. Again, according to Health Canada, by the 1990s, no one was considered to be at risk. During the program, Health Canada conducted clinical neurological examinations on 99 individuals from both Anishinaabe communities. At least 11 people had symptoms that were likely caused by mercury poisoning, about 11% of the total number of people examined. Health Canada reached the following conclusions. Given the present state of knowledge and the levels of mercury being currently found in Native peoples in Canada, it would be reasonable to say that the direct risks to the health of adults due to methylmercury are minimal at this time. The mercury monitoring program ended in 1996.
Do you still eat fish?
Yeah, I still eat fish. Yeah.
Why?
Because I love it. I like eating fish and I like fishing.
You eat fish out of the lake?
Yeah.
Do you know that fish are contaminated?
Are they?
Oh, no, they're not.
Oh no.
No, I mean, do you think so?
Oh no, we've been eating them
You've been
all the
eating
time.
them?
Yeah,
They taste
Oh.
good.
yeah. For like the past
But
couple
do you know
days.
what happened in this area about 25 years ago? 30 years
No.
ago. The chemical, not the paper mill in Dryden discharged the mercury in the
Really?
English Wabigoon River system, and it
Really?
contaminated the whole fish. That
Wow.
was 30 years ago. So I'm not
Yeah,
sure
but
how
I've been
safe
eating
it
them
is
for
now.
like
It's
6
it's
years, and
safe.
I haven't got sick or nothing yet.
So you've been coming here for 6 years,
Well, I've been coming here for 4, but my dad brought them home since like a long time ago.
then you eat fish
Oh yeah.
from here.
Yep.
The Ontario Ministry of the Environment publishes a guide to eating sports fish. In the guide, there is information about the contamination of fish. Mercury is the first contaminant to be mentioned. The fish consumption tables indicate eating limits dependent upon the contamination level of each lake.
Why do you release it?
Just fun to catch. Not big
Uh-huh.
enough really to eat. So
So if it's bigger, then you'll eat it?
probably yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
I see.
Eat them all. Go out there, catch lots of them, eat them.
Uh-huh. Oh.
Good food.
Dr. Laurie Chan, a toxicology professor at McGill University, discovered a significant decrease in mercury levels in local fish. Dr. Chan suggested that it is safe to consume certain types of fish such as whitefish. He stated that even walleye, pike, and bass, which have mercury levels above the guideline, can be eaten in limited quantities. In September of 2005, King's Fisheries, a company near Kenora in northwestern Ontario, disposed of an estimated 3,000 pounds of fish from the English Wabigoon and Winnipeg River systems. Joan Hubé, an Ontario Ministry of Natural Resources enforcement supervisor, said, "We are in an ongoing investigation dealing with the sale of unwholesome fish. Commercially, they would have too high a mercury content in them for human consumption."
Now look at this finger, and in the corner of your eye, as soon as you see the light. Yeah.
Okay.
Dr. Masazumi Harada is a mercury poisoning specialist from Japan. He has been tracking the effects of mercury on human health for more than 50 years, including 30-year term studies of the residents in Grassy Narrows and White Dog.
Very long time we are
Examine.
exam follow-up study. There is no such a case in the world.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Ah.
This picture was taken of him in front of a patient's home in Minamata, Japan. He was visiting to test for symptoms of methylmercury poisoning that became known as Minamata disease. This Japanese documentary, Minamata Disease: A Trilogy, captured examinations conducted by Dr. Harada and his research team. Minamata disease first occurred in humans in Minamata, Japan. Chiso Corporation, a local factory, started dumping methylmercury into Minamata Bay. Local cats were poisoned. Local fishermen and their family members were poisoned. Fetuses were also poisoned.
Dr. Harada comments, he was a barber, but he liked fishing. He bought a boat and went fishing often. One day, while he was shaving a customer, the razor dropped from his hand. That was the first symptom. At the beginning, the sensory nerves were affected, but within a short time, all the symptoms appeared. Perhaps he ate a lot of mercury-contaminated fish. His symptoms are typical, a textbook case.
To summarize, Mr. Onoe's symptoms include sensory disturbances, specifically the loss of sensation in the extremities, including the hands, feet, and around the mouth. Incoordination, including ataxia or the loss of muscular coordination.
Dr. Harada comments, the walking test is used to detect ataxia.
Tremor.
See how the fingertips tremble in front of the face. This is intention tremor. He cannot point to his nose accurately.
Impaired hearing. Concentric constriction of the visual field or tunnel vision.
He can see only this much, a field of about 20 or 30 degrees.
And dysarthria, speech impairment.
His dysarthria is so severe that only his wife can understand what he is saying.
These typical symptoms, observed in Minamata, match the Hunter-Russell syndrome. The Hunter-Russell syndrome is a group of symptoms first identified in British factory workers. They had inhaled methylmercury at their worksite in 1937. Health and Welfare Canada concluded in their first report in 1979 that the typical symptoms, as defined by the Hunter-Russell syndrome, had to be seen in order to acknowledge the occurrence of Minamata disease. A case with typical symptoms had not been seen in Canada.
But today it is erroneous, I think, to diagnose only such typical cases as Minamata disease.
Dr. Harada wrote, I agree that Hunter-Russell syndrome matches the principal symptoms of Minamata disease. However, the cases used to define Hunter-Russell syndrome were cases of direct poisoning through inhalation of methylmercury by workers who handled it in a factory. On the other hand, Minamata disease is methylmercury poisoning caused through the food chain as a result of large-scale environmental contamination. Victims range from fetuses to the elderly. Therefore, each victim has a very distinct individual case history compared with the original cases of Hunter-Russell syndrome. When we consider this, it becomes impossible to grasp the concept of Minamata disease with a narrow view based mainly on Hunter-Russell syndrome.